In part 1 of this video, I documented the beautiful paint job I did for my HM-300, and now we're going to look at some tones. I shot out a bunch of different setups in a mix to see what works best, and to see how we can use this pedal, get the most out of it. We're going to jump into the demos shortly, but I'm going to give you an overview of the first demos, and then I'll come back and talk about the next round and so on. Tone 1 is the HM-300 straight into the PC into a clean amp sim with no post-processing. I then built a mix that complemented the sound I got from the guitar. For Tone 2, I took a different approach. I ran it through my Pedalboard. I used a compressor into the Golden Horse clone-style pedal, boosting the HM-300, through an EQ pedal, and then through the clean channel of my tube amp. I tweaked with the settings of everything for a while to get a sound that I liked, and then put that back through the first mix, as well as building a second mix that complemented this slightly more modern, aggressive version of the tone. For this next clip, I'm comparing the HM-2 distortion and my tube amp distortion. I'm running through a similar set of pedals on both, though one is through the HM-2 and the other is going into the lead channel on my tube amp. Both of them have the Golden Horse boosting it, as well as the EQ pedal and the compressor. I'm using the same mix on both, and I also included a clip where I blended the HM-2 tracks with the tube amp tracks. I really like the tone I got with the HM-2 on my Pedalboard, so I wanted to see if I could get a similar or even better tone with just the tube distortion. Of course, they're very different distortion circuits, quite a different sound. So I wanted to compare the two in a similar context without trying to match them, which is not going to happen. So let's check that out. For this last clip, I kind of went back to the drawing board. I went through the Golden Horse, which I liked a lot, then the HM-300, into the PC, this time with a different amp sim. I'm running the NRR1 from Ignite Amps on the Crunch channel, so we're getting an even more nasty distorted sound. I really wanted to build this sound to accent the nasty chainsaw sound of the HM2 in a way that was hopefully usable and musical, because there's some weird things with the EQ on this pedal, and I wanted to give it a more modern sound, but still that chainsaw vibe. So I was quite happy with this last tone, and I think if you want to use an HM2 in a modern setting, this situation is pretty ideal for it. Thanks for sticking around, and I hope this has been informative. It was a lot of fun to shoot out these different tones and to really play with this pedal and see what it can do and how it fits into a mix context. I think if you're going to use a pedal like this in a more modern setting, it's really great to have a boost like a Klon pedal or a Tube Screamer that's going to get back some of those mids that this pedal really cuts out, as well as boosting the gain some more. Of course, some people use a metal zone to boost it, or use the HM2 to boost a metal zone. I don't have one handy to do that, but At the Gates famously did that, so that is another way to utilize it. I really like the way it turned out running into the Crunch channel of the last amp sim I used. I think that really brings out a lot of the chainsaw character and was quite a usable sound. It is a messy and nasty sound, but that's what we're going for with this pedal. I did try running into the lead channel on my tube amp, and I hated the sound. It was muddy, and it was just a mess with the distortion, and I didn't like playing through it. I didn't like the sound. So I didn't have any luck with that, but I did with the amp sims, so that may be something to try out. I think it is possible to bring this pedal into a more modern metal sound, but it's a pretty wild pedal. You have to pull out some tricks to tame it and sculpt it into something usable. If you look at the EQ curve this pedal produces, it's got a very big bass hump around 100, and then a very large upper mids bump around 1K, 1 to 1.5K, I think, as well as a big scooped mids. So part of the goal was to bring back some of those mids, though it's such a fuzzy and distorted pedal that the mids themselves are not all that clear even when you boost them. So it does have a character that's unavoidable, but that's why running it in with an overdrive pedal that has a mid bump is a useful thing, and you can do some post EQ to get it to play better with other instruments. So I hope you enjoyed this Swedish chainsaw experimentation, and if you have a similar pedal, I encourage you to try these things out and see what kind of results you get. Cheers.